Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to Masechtas Bava Batra daf Kuf Nun Hey. We're going to begin on Kuf Nun Hey Amud Alf, about halfway down the Amud. Itmar, regarding a katan, regarding a child, at what point is he able to sell his father's property? And this is connected to what we saw in yesterday's daf, and we're going to say the story of Bnei Brak that we saw yesterday again today. So the question is, when is he able to sell his father's property? So the Gemara says it's Machlos. Rav Omer Rav Nachman ben Shmoines Rishana Rav Hunabar Chinana Omer Rav Nachman ben Esrim Shana. So Machlokas, if you could do it at 18 years old or 20 years old. Now in this, the Tosis over here first of all says Perish Benu Shmuel, that the Davka Menechse Aviv. The whole question is if he's selling his father's property. However, this is not talking about if, let's say, he has his own property or things of that nature, but this is specifically got it from his father. It says the Rashbam, that he could sell it. So that's when it comes to karka. So when it comes to karka, it's a machlokas 18 or 20. The ilu gabi mataltli tanan, and Masechtas Gittin it says ha pu'utois mechon mekach umachon machon v'mataltlin. Now, when it comes to a child who is the age of pu'utois, which we'll see in a second, he can buy and sell mataltlin. Umafreshinan hasam kibar shisu kibar shev. Even if he's just 6 or 7 years old, kol chad lefum chorpei. Obviously, depending on the sharpness of that child. Mishum kedei chayiv. Because when it comes to metaltalin, he needs it to live. Therefore, that we're more lenient, so he'll be able to sell things to be able to have food. So that is the law. And the Rashbam points out when it says 18, it's Shmon Esrei V'Yom Echad, which means, of course, it's referring to his birthday. And we'll actually see this is not so clear that everyone holds like that. Okay, let's look at question 3. Ben Sheno Yodea Bativ Masamata. This is specifically a kid who doesn't really understand business deals. Matai Moyecha Benexi Aviv Karka O Mataltala. So Karka is, some say 18, some say 20. Mataltalin 6 or 7. Lefum Chorpei. And TA 19, similar question. It says Madua Shani Mataltalin Makarka. Why is it different? So as I said, Mataltalin is between 6 and 7, Kedei Chayiv. Karka, it's a machlokas 18 or 20. Elahu Baki B'Davar Zeh Az Afilu Kaidim Luzeh. This is Davka because he is Eina Yodeyat Bativ Masamatan. He doesn't know the basics of business dealings. Question T, that was TB 19. TA 19, similar question. Katan. So again, it's the exact same thing. Karka is 18 or 20. Metaltalin is the age of Pu'uta Ais Kabar Shisu Kabar Sheva. That's how it's written. Okay, let's continue. See the parentheses. So Meisiv Rav Zera. So you asked the question based on what we saw yesterday. Masim of Bnei Brak, and here the Rashbam doesn't say it's a place. Interesting enough, Rashbam yesterday and said Bnei Brak. Anyway, so you have a person who sold his father's properties. And the whole question, was he able to sell these properties to these lukuchais? Because was he a katan at the time, or was he a gadol? Was the whole question, as we said, who's the one who's the muhsik? Is the lukuchos holding on to it? And if the Yarshim are trying to get it from them, or is that the Yarshim have it and the lukuchos are making the tainas? That was what we saw in yesterday's daf. The iru loimer katan haya b'shas misa. So the bnei mishpacha are trying to prove that it was not a good sale, and therefore they're trying to take it away from the lukuchos by saying that it was sold at the time he was only a katan, therefore he had no legal ability to be able to sell it. So what happened was they weren't able to produce witnesses, so maybe they can actually examine the body. He said, you're not allowed to do that, first of all, because you're disgracing your relative. by looking at his body that way. Also, who says a siman that he showed signs of maturity that may have changed after he died. So if, let's say, he had shtei cyrus, he showed hairs of maturity, maybe those hairs fell out, or maybe hairs grew after he died. So ben shemayin shana. Now it says his lashon katan. So we're understanding, obviously, it doesn't mean he's mamash a katan, because then there's no shayla. But we're trying to understand 18 or 20. A katan, we understand, is typically someone who is under 13. So here, we understand that when he says he's a katan, they're saying that he's under 18 or 20. Now, as we continue to kuf nun ham and beis, that once you're 18 years old, that's when you could sell. That's why they were trying to get him to examine the body, and they knew he was perhaps 18. Says Rashbam, she'im lo yimsu b'sairos, if they would not find hairs, yaksikuhu kakatan ad esrim, they would say that he was actually, even though they knew he was 18, they would figure that if he doesn't show simanim, he has the halachic status still as a katan until 20. But davka in limchor minechse aviv, when it comes to selling your father's property, tartibi, and we need two things: shmoine esrei shanim usa'arais, 18 years old in age, and also physical signs. Of l'inyan oinshin, when it comes to punishments, umitzvahs meben yud gimel chashiv gadol im hevi sa'aris. When it comes to the din of oinshin, which is and doing mitzvahs, that's 13, as of course is the age of a bar mitzvah. So we can understand why he wanted to be boidik. They wanted to see if he was 18, and therefore if he doesn't show hairs, so then he's considered halachically as a katan, he wasn't able to sell. Eli Amred ben Esrim, that you can sell until he's 20, so ki badkule my havi. Understand, even if they are boidik him and they see that this person has no simanim of being showing physical maturity, halachically, once you're 20, you have the din as a gadol. So he has the halachic status now as a gadol, and therefore we don't allow him to do chalitz or yibum, because either as a saris, someone, you don't follow the potential of having children, or it's possible maybe you're considered like a kroshavcha, in which is the lav, in which, according to his shit of Rabbi Kiva, kedushin is not typhus b'chavi lav and ayin gemar nivamus. So anyway, let's look in the Rashbam actually. V'hu asris v'harihu sris v'lo chayletz v'lo miyabim ki the aimer b'yavamus d'lo karinin be'l'hokim l'achim shame. So that is one reason, because he can't have children. If you can't do yibum, there's no chalitza. Alma ben esrim elach, once you're 20, afgadol Cyrus, even doesn't show sense of maturity. We consider him like a gadol. Cyrus. So therefore, the kasha is that if in fact you say it's 20, but once you're 20, you're considered to be a gadol anyway. So therefore, once he's a gadol, halachically, he should have been able to have sold it. So even if, let's say, you examine the body and you don't see any hairs, but he could still be 20 years old, still be considered to be a gadol as a sris. Whereas Rav Imulam, Rav Shmuel, Rav Yitzchak, Rav Fusha Noilubo Simon Sris. So let's basically what this means. In our case in Bnei Brak, he didn't have any simon sris, so he could be checked even at 20, and he would actually still be considered a katan. The only time a person is deemed at 20 as a gadol by not showing simanim is dafka if he showed simon sris. Says Rashbam, as we see in Mesetes Yevamos now pay, kivandi ikatarti chashvina leika gadol. If he's 20 and he has simon sris, which it discusses what are simanim of being a sris over there, without a beard, that's like the main one, and there's a whole other ones, the voice, things of that nature. Although ben esrim shul heavy Cyrus, if let's say you're 20, you don't bring any hairs, the ain boy simon sris, and you have no simanim, chashvili katan, he's still considered to be a katan on roiv shnais until half of his life. Let's say he did show that he was a Sris before he was 20. He also doesn't have hairs. Even though he's shown Simone Sris, we wait until he's 20. So once he becomes 20 and he already showed Simone Sris, then he's considered to be a gadol. However, if he didn't show Simone Sris, even though now we're examining him and we don't see any hairs, so that doesn't matter. He's not considered halachically as a gadol. So therefore, it's possible that you could still do this siman even if you hold 20. Okay, that's the idea. Omer Rava dekanami tani v'hu hasris shmamina. In fact, it says v'hu hasris. What does that mean? Basically, what it's saying is that he just developed. He is now a sris, right? V'hu hasris, right? As opposed to v'hu shenoylu bo siman sris. So the fact that it says v'hu hasris means that he was always, let's say it the other way around. When is it that he's considered to be a gadol? V'hu hasris is that he was already a sris from before. He showed simani sris, and therefore at 20 he's considered a gadol. V'chi lo nodo b'simani sris my ad kama. So we're saying in our case in Bnei Brak he didn't have any simani sris, so even at 20 years old, it wouldn't have been a mechira because he didn't show somebody sris. He was still a katan. So what time is he considered to be a gadol? So Tani Rav Chia on Rov Shnais of the majority of your life. So Rashbam says Lamad Vav Shanim Shehin Rav Shanim Dichsiv Shemishana. So I'm 52. I don't like this Rashbam, but basically half of your life is 36. Basically your middle age, assuming that you're going to die at 70 or 36, you've already passed the majority of your years. He also committed Rav Chia. He says like this: if he's weak, armulhu livri. We say fatten him up. The ivri, if he's fattened up, armulhu lichush. Maybe thin him down. Dahani simane. These various signs. Zimna de asu machmas kachishusa. Zimna de asu machmas beryusa. In other words, it's possible the fact that he's displaying simoni sris is maybe it's not really that he is a sris. Maybe what it just simply means is he's undergoing anxiety, stress, he's overeating, he's undereating. So your diet can affect all these different things in your body. Iboilhu. So now the Gemara asks a different question. When we say 18 or 20, is it Taychzman Kalifne Zman? No, is it only at the end of the year? Says Rashbam Shnas Shmoin Esri Gufa Lamar Shnas Esrim Gufa Lamar Behivi Cyrus. It's 18 mamish, 18 in 1 day, as we saw in the Rashbam before, or Kaliyachar Zman. Or is it that's Kalifne Zman She'ein Mechiras Mechir B'Nechsi Aviv? So basically, is it the beginning of the 18th year, or is it the conclusion of the? Okay. So Omer Rava Omer Rav Nachman Toich Zman Kalifni Zman, and therefore it's only at the end of the year. Rava Bar Rav Shil Omer Rav Nachman Toich Zman Kaliyachar Zman. So Machlokas. So Bahad Rava La Befershim or La Bechlal Mar. So maybe this is where the parentheses were in the previous daf. Tahu Toich Zman in the 18th year. The Ozul Zaven Nichse the guy went and he was selling property. We also committed Rava Omer Hu. He didn't do anything. So Mandachazu, why was it not a good sale? Because Savar Mishum Zman Klifni Zman. Because it wasn't, you have to wait until the end of the year. So he was not yet considered halachically like a gadol to be able to have made the sale. Vlohi, it's not necessarily raya. Hasam Shitusa Yeterta Chazabe. He saw an extra level of foolishness, or that he did not have the capacity to make such business decisions. Because he was freeing his slaves, says Rashbam. Why would he? We saw he was just freeing slaves for no good reason, which he gets no benefit out of. So obviously it shows as a shait. As Gemara Chagiga says, the greatest raya, I think, is other proofs, sleeping in the basic forest, etc. But if a person loses everything that they have, that is the greatest raya being a shaita. So that's the reason why he said it wasn't a mechira. It's nothing to do with lifnei zman, toich zman. That's no, it makes nothing. That's not the reason. Shalchle gidol bar menashil rava. Well, Rava, Yolamdenu Rabbeinu Tinoikis, when it comes to a girl, Bas Arba Esri Shana V'Yomechon, when she's 14, Yodas Betiv B'Masam Matan Mahu. She's not 20. So what's the din if she does show signs of knowledge in business deals? So Shalachle Im Yodas Betiv Masam Matan Mecha Mecha Umechra Mecher. So even at that a younger age, of 14, it's still good. So V'Lishlachle Tinuk. So why did you basically pose a question about a girl? You could have asked a question about a boy. So because this was actually a story, a true case, where it was a girl who was 14 that sold something. So wouldn't it made more sense because a girl typically is chayv in mitzvahs at bat mitzvah 12. So why didn't he ask that question again? It was not that there's something magical about 14, but it means that this was the case. So we asked the kasha then. More again. There was someone who's under 20 years old, sold his property. So avuhu kigidol bar menasha. So this person knew business well. So serious. Okay. Also, the relatives say zil echel tamre ushtebe kashyasa be'rava. So this person was acting as a shaita to say it wasn't a good mechira to overturn the sale because this person was basically throwing pits to show his incompetency. So Avad Hachi, he did this. Amulhu Zvine loves Zvine, must not be a good sale. Because there's a shaita. Ki kakasvule star, when they wrote a star, Armule Lukuchais, Zil Amule Larava, go tell him Megillus Esther Bezuza. If you write an entire Megillus Esther, it's a Zuz. Star Demar Bezuza. So why should a star cost the same price? Now, the fact that you would make that type of a statement actually demonstrates that you're not such a shaita. The fact that you can figure out that it doesn't make sense to have to charge the same amount of money for a document as opposed to a large Megillah. So it must be it's actually a good sale because this person does have his wits with him. So they can say that they told him to say this. Savar Kivan the Mesavrile Vesavar Mediyada Vahidi Ovid Hachi Chutzpah Yaserhu Dehavibe. So the chutzpah could be mistaken for potentially being a shaita, but he really was not a shaita. He just was a little bit mechutzav. Some Rav Huna Rav Yeshua le'edus edus and edus. When it comes to their testimony, it is a good testimony. Even at a younger age, they're able to testify regarding mataltal of lakucha el karkoi lo, says Rashbam. Under 20 years old, you don't know anything about business. You can't sell your property of the father. When it comes to testimony, you could testify what you saw. As long as you're not a shaita, your testimony is accepted at the age of 13. So he said, yeah, that's only when it comes to testifying regarding to karka, to mataltal, not to karka. Armali Ravashi Lamar Zutra, Maishta mataltali. So why, when it comes to mataltali, is believed zvine, it's a good sale, because it's a good sale. So almiyata hadanan hapuutais mechan mechach mecham mechar memataltal nachinami the edos and edos. If you're going to link being able to sell something to being a valid witness, that can't be, because we know that even as we saw someone who is 6 or 7 years old can sell metaltalin, and yet, of course, a katan cannot be a witness. So when it comes to the din of edus, the pasuk says a noshim. You have to be a man. You have to be 13. So because of that, there's a kasav to tell you that they're not able to give edus. But the fact is that for a katan, really technically, you would think there is a link between what you could sell, and therefore it shows that you have some belief, and therefore you should also be able to testify. We don't say that when it comes to a katan because there's a custom telling us that it has to be amdu shnei noshim. Even though really you would think maybe a katan should be able to testify based on this logic, but the pasuk says he doesn't. Amar meimar umatanaso matana, and also a gift from a 13-year-old is a gift, even though he may not know that tiv maso matan, and it wouldn't be a good sale of his father's property. Amar Rav Ashel meimar hashno mazvin in the mekabel zuzi amar deloi, because dilma moizul mazabin. Maybe when you tell him when it comes to a sale of a purchase, you can say it's not a good sale because maybe he undersold because he doesn't know what he's doing because he's too young. So koshkin matana delamati level amidi. So why would we say that if he gives a gift that should work? Doesn't make he's not getting anything. So if you're telling me it's not a good sale where he may instead of selling something for $1 million he got ripped off and he got $500,000, so, and that's not good. So then why would we say it's a good matana? A matana should certainly not be good when he gets nothing. So Amalei, so he says that's not logical because as we continue Kufnun and Vav Aleph, Taimech, according to your reason that you're hanging it when it comes to gains and losses, Zavin Shavi Chamsha B'Shisa. If let's say you sold something that's worth 5 for 6, Hachinami Dzvini Zvini, it should actually be a good deal. But we know that there's a din of Onah. So Elo Kimu Rabbanan, it's understood and established by the Rabbanan, Dianuka Mikar V'Daiti Gabizuzi. We know that children are attracted to coins, the jingling of coins. V'yamr Zvini Zvini. So when it comes to a sale, the reason why we say that under a certain age, kids who don't know what they're doing, we don't want it to be a good sale because otherwise, Zimdi de Mikarshkeli Zuzi, people are just going to try to rip off the kid by selling him, jingling a few coins. He's going to like these coins. He's going to end up selling all of his father's property because he doesn't understand. Avol Gabi Matana, when it comes to a gift, we're going to assume there's a reason why he's giving him this gift. If it wasn't for the fact that this kid probably got some hana from this person he's giving the gift to, matana, would never have given it to him. So Amar Rabbanan to havi manaso matana mili. It must be that this child actually got something back from this person. Says Rashbam, ligmo chesed, they'll do him maybe now favors with hetiv b'chol inyanim. So when it comes to, even though it sounds not logical, but it actually is logical once we flesh it out, that when it comes to a matana, he's not going to give a matana. A person's just going to give away things unless he actually thinks he's going to get something back from it. However, when it comes to a mechira, kids who don't know anything under a certain age, 18 or 20, so those people are going to potentially get taken advantage of. And therefore, for that reason, we say it's not a good sale. Question, okay, we're going to stop there. Question 4. Basic gil, chashvin ish kigadoil, avol bishlo heavy cyrus, uma heavy benoil de bo siman isris. So as we said, if he doesn't have siman isris, it's roiv shenaisim, as Rashbam says, 36 years old is like a gadol. If he does have siman isris, then he's considered to be a gadol at the age of 20. Question TB20. Same question. Siman Isris, Rak Acharov Shanov, 36 years old. Adkan.